Hey yo, hey yo. My dome been dethroned, hardship trickle through my bones. Steady waiting for a ring, heard God only talks through public phones. I've been boxed in next to collectibles all alone.
Right, looks like it's going. Peace, welcome back. Secret House Against Tokyo-based hip-hop art and culture conversations. I am Mega. You know, Jet, we are the people that do conversations about independent, underground, avant-garde, experimental, abstract hip-hop. We're back with kind of, I want to say, like the second installment of our
Conversation. I mean, it's third, I guess. We talked to Castro.
okay, and Alaska, but I'm trying to do one of these every month, and for February I wanted to get our guest on, but there were some hiccups, and also, you know, life be turbulent, it'd be up and down like a heartbeat. But today we're here with the incredible Rap Man Gavin, who
What's up?
peace. He is he's an MC, rapper, poet, artist from Cape Town, South Africa, and a friend of the show. He's one of our patrons. He's a member of our community on the Discord, and also I think you and I made acquaintance with each other on the Rap Music Plug podcast Discord, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, like when I first, and it's been about a year that I've been in there, and like when I first got in there, you know, I was just like rambling and talking shit about everybody's opinions being whack. Yeah, nothing really changed, but I stopped being like so radical in there because I remember I'd feel guilty. I'd be like, "Yo, my bad for rambling, for ranting," and you and Mandisi would be like, "Nah, do that shit, talk that shit," and I was like, "All right, these are my people." And then, you know, they were also some of the first to kind of join the our Discord. So yeah, man, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I played some football this morning, or soccer, not American football.
No, you're good.
But
Yeah, we get it. We've been in Japan long enough that it's like somebody has to say like American football for me to register it as football.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he is British, but yeah, man. So you know, real casual conversation today. I wanted to start by just kind of getting into who you are, where you come from. Can you give us a little spiel about you know, who you are, how long you've been making music, that type of thing?
Yeah. Well, I think I've been rapping for like plus 10 years now. I started making music first. So I got two older brothers, and like the middle one, he makes like a lot of well, he started making music, got himself like an acoustic guitar, started learning guitar and shit like that, and that kind of made me think, oh shit, you can just buy this and make music. So then I also got like an acoustic guitar and used to play like really basic acoustic guitar, but obviously I can't sing, so I would just rap like over the guitar and shit and make music like that. But yeah, my brother was basically the one that got me into making music, and then that's basically how it started. I used to make these really corny acoustic guitar raps and throw it on SoundCloud. A lot of it was like heartbreaking shit, stuff like that.
I'm
But
sad.
yeah, it was pretty much. But
What is the age difference between you and your brother?
So between me and the middle one, it's 4 years. He's 4 years older, and then I got another brother that's 7 years older.
Okay, so
You're a bit. You guys are kind of similar in that respect, I guess. You got older siblings.
yeah.
You're, like, substantially older.
Yeah, my two sisters is 15 and 12 years older than me. So kind of like my nephew is 4 years younger than me, and he's like my brother. And then I got another nephew that's 5 years younger, and that's like my brother. But okay, so growing up in South Africa, I mean, I know hip hop is global and everything like that, but what kind of pushed you into hip hop culture?
It's interesting because like my surroundings, like growing up, it wasn't really like hip hop and shit beyond like this stuff you hear on the radio. And so like in my household, I guess like my oldest brother would have like CDs, but the CDs would be like, it would range from like Biggie and Tupac to like Michael Jackson and Backstreet Boys, and like, you know, just everything that was basically popping at the time. So that's basically like my first like interaction with rap, is listening to Tupac and Biggie and being like, oh shit, this is dope. But obviously I'm like like 6, 7 at the time, so it's not really anything beyond the cool sound. And then kind of a few years go by, and my middle brother's getting really into hip hop and shit. So I'm starting to listen to more and getting into it. And I mean, like I went to like a pretty white school, but like you would like be seeing like, you know, like little 8-year-olds singing Candy Shop and stuff like that. Like that, it's like very global. So mainstream hip hop was like, it was really, it was also a big year, but in terms of like really like hip hop culture and stuff, I was never like around that as a kid. And then I think the first album that really like changed things a lot for me was well, it was the lead up to it and then the album itself, but the Carter 2 by Lil Wayne. So he had all those leaks coming out and shit as well, and then the Drought series and stuff. And that was like, and when I listened to the Carter 2, that was like the first time I was like, oh, I want to do this. Like I really want to do this. And then his whole like kind of style of being like, I'm the best at this, kind of made me be like, oh shit, that's how I'm gonna approach it. I'm gonna be the best at this. And then for quite a while, that was kind of me. Like I just kind of worked on rhyming until I could feel like I could tell someone, hey, I'm better than you probably, you know. And it's not like I'm surrounded by a lot of like people who are dedicated themselves to the art like that, but you'd still get in like rap battles and stuff and growing up in high school and stuff like that. And it was just, I don't know, it's a lot easier for me to beat everybody and stuff like that. But again, it's like people who aren't really in the culture. Yeah, so that Carter 2 was like a big turning point for me personally.
Was that like, you know, I'm not exactly, I know, you know, like Western hegemony, like a lot of our art and culture, especially black art from America, is exported across the world. And hip hop in particular tends to connect with, you know, the damned and detested, the oppressed, and kind of the outsiders across even language barriers. But you guys are speaking English over there. Was there kind of a big, and I'm asking questions purely as like the American who doesn't know shit about other cultures all that much. Like, was there when Lil Wayne was, you know, popping and the mixtapes were amazing and stuff, was there like people at your school that primarily listened to American rap music, or was there, you know,
that would like more happen so when the Carter 3 dropped and it got a little bit more mainstream? Like the Carter 2 was there, but again, it's like it's only few of us. It's like the only other people I knew who were listening to the Carter 2 was the people I sent it to. So like it was
I mean,
yeah,
Caltrops 3 in the UK was like absolutely massive. Like, I don't
yeah,
know, was on that joint. So like,
yeah. So that like that whole album was on our radio for ages. Like that was super popular across like white people loved it, colored people loved it, black people loved it. It's just like it was everywhere. But the Carter 2 was way less, like way more low key, way more like for people who were already like looking for hip hop and shit like that.
yeah, I mean, it's like a section 80 versus like Good Kid, Mad City. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
pretty much.
people were tapped in, but not. It took that big one, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't. You know, I respected Lil Wayne and actually thought he was a really dope MC, but I also just couldn't get. I'm older than you guys both by at least 10 years, you know, and so like I was already like this, you know, undressed misogyny is really good, but I'm not sticking around for the shit, you know. But
it's funny because my Wayne fandom, like it lasted a few years, but like even when the Carter 3 dropped, I was like, oh, this is cool, it's really cool, but I like the album a lot, but it's not the Carter 2. And then and then when the Carter 4 dropped, I was entirely disinterested. And like there was a little period where I was like, oh, he's just not rapping in any interesting way for me. But in the like more recent years, like he's been featuring a lot and doing a lot of dope features and stuff, and he's made me kind of tap back into him. But yeah, my fandom for him was big, but it wasn't very long lived. Although like for years, like I would default to Carter 2 favorite album of all time just because it's like so sentimental, and to me, like that was such a moment for me.
Yeah.
Even though I don't really think I would call it my favorite album of all time.
It's interesting to hear you kind of say that this is a bit of your genesis. And I guess it's like that for a lot of underground cats. But also, when you were getting into hip hop, there was, you know, Cannibal Ox was already out and Death Grips and stuff. So
I was just completely oblivious to all of that.
Your rap style is not like Wayne's at all to me, you know, like of course you're you know, bombing lyrics and writing your ass off, but the content, the kind of style, the sonic qualities of the beats and stuff that you choose are not towards that at all. When did you start getting weird as fuck?
Yeah, I think when I was early on, like the Lil Wayne inspiration for me early on was like, okay, this guy's hitting a lot of rhymes in one line and the next line. So it was kind of made me work on schemes and shit a bit. But then like there was a few years where I kind of fell out of hip hop, and then the Odd Future movement started, and that kind of pulled me straight back in. And then Kendrick started dropping, and then I was a fan of like kind of all the like rapidy rap cats who were like mainstream on a like more mainstream level for a while, until somebody showed me Rap Forever, and then that
Oh,
kind of pulled me in. Well, Milo at the time, I guess, but like when I heard his music, I was like, whoa, what's this? And then that opens you up to like, then okay, Open Mike Eagles there. You're checking
right.
out Open Mike Eagle, and then that kind of opened me up to a whole new world of hip hop. So that was probably like, I mean, it was quite not that long ago. It was probably like first around 2016, 2017, and even then I'm just like tapping in, and then I only really get obsessed with it like around like 2018, 2019. Yeah.
Okay, so like basically the majority of your kind of music endeavors, you've been already tapped into that stuff. You've been rapping for like over 10 years, but you know that's 10 years ago essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. That's really dope. Yeah, I love Rory, you know, friend of the show, homie, and yeah, that's super ill. I'm also kind of curious, you know, earlier you mentioned, you said white people, colored people, and black people. I think one thing that a
So-called
lot of
white people, colored people, and black people. Yeah.
right,
Right. Yeah.
like one thing that I think a lot of Americans and maybe just in general people who are not familiar with the kind of political history or even just the history of South Africa are not so aware of this kind of distinct racial group of people who are perhaps some of the most ethnically diverse people
Yeah.
in the world. You know, they're like they're Dutch, they're what is it?
Koa?
Kosa.
Bantu, Kosa,
Yeah.
Bantu. They're various different types of Southeast Asians, and there's this really incredible mixture of people who are pretty ethnically ambiguous, but we're also on the wrong end of apartheid and on the wrong end of you know, the colonization, so to speak.
Mhm.
What is your background? Because you
Well,
are
I'm a
also ethnically ambiguous.
yeah, yeah. So I'm a colored guy. My mother's a colored woman, and my father's a colored man. But it's like like the classification of who colored people are is like a very arbitrary apartheid thing. It's like okay, it's like that meme of like the Family guy looking at the colored shit and being like, okay, yeah, you fall, yeah, you fall, yeah. And I mean, there was even that pencil testing that I think Mandisi sent the other day, where they would like put a pencil in your hair and see if it sticks and shit like that. So like just a lot of like arbitrary shit. So you have a whole group of like people. Like I mean, it's. I think we're the most ethnically diverse group in the world. I do think they say it's like 50% on the maternal side can link back to like Khoisan. Um, so that's like kind of the center line, I guess, that goes
Yeah.
to a lot of colored people. But like colored people will literally be like, if like a lot of these people go for DNA tests and shit like that, and it always comes back with like East African, West African, European, Asian. It's really like
Yeah.
it's super all over the place. And then like beyond that, like you get these like Afrikaans white guys here that are like, you know, we are Boer, we Afrikaans, we're proud of being white. So not saying that's everybody, but you do get obviously a group of people like that who act like that. But if those guys go do a DNA test, they're gonna find some Zulu in them. They're gonna find
Right.
a lot of unexpected shit in them. Like it's
Right.
really quite ambiguous, not ambiguous, but it's quite diverse across the board. Like there's been a lot of racial mixing here since the fucking Dutch East India Company set up
Yeah.
here, basically.
It turns out when you put a group of people in one place, they fuck.
Yeah, I've been saying it's like we were the orgy capital of the world, basically, and this is the result.
Shut up.
I had an argument with a coworker back in the UK before I came to Japan. I had an argument with a coworker about this because I visited Japan and she was asking me what I thought of the country and everything. I was like, yeah, I love Japan. I'd like to move there at some point. Did. And I was like, my only issue is like, as foreigners in Japan, there's no path to becoming Japanese.
Mhm.
You can naturalize as a Japanese citizen. You can become fluent in the language. You can marry a Japanese person. You can have Japanese kids, but you can't be Japanese. Like, you will always be in that category of foreign.
Yeah.
Even
Right.
if you're like a white or black person born in Japan, you are foreign.
That's right.
And my coworker, who is an ethnically white British woman who was born and raised in South Africa, was like, oh, that sounds nice. I wish it was like that in the UK too. So I was like, well, you were born in Johannesburg and I was born 800 meters from here. Like, I think I know which one of us is more British. And she was like, well, you're also French and you're Jamaican. So like you get those identities too. And I was like, wait, like you're married to a Cape Colored guy and your daughter is like half white, half Cape Colored, born in London. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Your daughter's British as shit. I teach her.
You gotta love those blind spots, man. It's always weird. Like,
she didn't seem to understand that it was all very arbitrary. But,
yeah, but like just to say like that like arbitrary distinction of like taking black people and colored people and being like re-separating you is like probably one of like the most genius moves that they pulled off, because it created like a division, because you're basically creating a hierarchy. And like, yeah, colored people, we were all oppressed and shit. My parents suffered all of that stuff, but we were still higher on the hierarchy than black people. So then you get colored people who start to believe that they're better than black people, and
they reinforce the different values of colonization on a spectrum of colonization. That's right.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, we still do that. In America, we do that as well. And it goes back, to like, even Garveyites are like, well, you're mixed. So, like, this is a different thing. The book that we're currently reading in the Discord is completely about that, but just on a kind of more macro scale than what we're talking about here with, white, colored, and black, which is very much a distinct version of those type of racial hierarchies created by colonization. Like, race is not a biological category that's been politically charged. It is a political category that's been biologically charged. And while you can link a lot of things to race, just like with colored people, within just the grouping of colored people, the spectrum of dynamic differences in relations to being a colored person are even more distinct within the group than they are against another racial group. So it's interesting to hear that, because we all grew up in different countries that were that still are the kind of dominant hegemon and the purveyors, the enforcers of these type of categories. I grew up in a different way and everything, and I'm curious, like, what growing up for you was like as kind of a post-apartheid colored person. I imagine your parents had a very different experience from you, and you said you went to a school that primarily majority white. In that, what are those type of I know that they are, but like, what was your experience with that growing up? And
well, it was like so like basically as soon as like apartheid ended and stuff, you in this situation where the good schools are the white schools. So you have a whole bunch of parents now being like, oh, we can go to the white schools now. And then my parents took my brother out of the school that he was in, and we went to a white school. I mean, it wasn't just white people, it was mixed and stuff. But when I started, it was probably like 80% white. When I left, it was less than that. High school, when I started, was probably like 70% white, and when I left, it was maybe like 60% white, and then the rest like colored, black, Indian, Asian, But like, it was interesting because like when I started primary school, it was like, because the area that I grew up in is basically just colored people. Like, in South Africa, it's like you can really still see like the spatial planning shit, like colored people live in one area, white people live in another area, black people live in other areas and stuff. You see that a lot. There's obviously mixes here and there, but you can still kind of tell like what area is what area. But like even where I live, I'm pretty sure that this specific area was a white area, and then colored people moved in, so the white people moved out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is when you have like extreme poverty in anywhere, you see various forms of violence and stuff. One of the things that I'm a little bit familiar with are the number gangs and the type of gang violence that happens out there. Is your experience like growing up, was there a lot of like social violence with the colored people and white people and black people there? Was it like, because I see those number gangs and I see like the prison documentaries, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like it almost seems like what you would expect from a so-called third world country, where this gang violence is just so instilled into these communities that there's almost not an out. Like, did you grow up, with gangsters and with violent crimes happening and stuff?
I mean, so all that shit is real and constant. But my post-apartheid experience, I basically grew up in the suburbs with like a pretty safe environment and stuff. I mean, obviously you're in Cape Town, so you encounter some shit. But there are specific like communities, like poorer communities and stuff, where it's like, I mean, it's essentially what I guess you guys would call the hood, or like the projects and shit like that.
Project, right.
It's like, so there's a lot of those communities, and then you also get like, so that's more like, you get like a lot of colored communities where it's like really heavy gangsterism and shit, and then you get townships and so-called squatter camps and stuff where the violence and shit is also just, it's off the charts. But yeah, my lived experience, I've not fortunately had to be close to that growing up. Yeah.
What about kind of the you see it an adoption of like American forms of gangster culture in the same way that Chicago and New York and Los Angeles gangs kind of spread across the United States. You even see it here where people are adopting like Mexican cholo culture and gang culture like that. In your high school, were people adopting a lot of Americanized blackness, or
well, like
American?
one of the biggest like gangsters here are called the Americans, which is
no shit.
Yeah. It's like
no shit, they're called the Americans.
Why would you? I don't know, but that's like
crazy.
I don't know, like everywhere you kind of see people, even like in hip hop specifically. Like one of the things about mainstream South African hip hop that used to really annoy the shit out of me is that a lot of these guys were going into the studio and putting on an American accent and rapping in an American accent and doing it like, well, that's rap music. And often like the excuse is kind of, I don't know, excuse, but like the reasoning is kind of like, I grew up listening to Nas, I grew up listening to T.I., that's how they rapped. And it's just like, but that's how they talk. You know what I mean? It's not how you talk. So it's like, it's everywhere, But again, like, we've been bombarded with American culture like our whole lives, basically.
Black folks say the N-word out there like that?
Like, I guess black people say it, so do colored people. But again, it's more like, it's not like in America at all. It's more like...
Right. It's the linchpin of our language in America, a lot of ways. Like, I can't recall a time where I've ever heard you say it, even like in quoting rap lyrics. And Jet doesn't come from a culture that use it either, and so he'll only sprinkle it in every once in a while, especially when he's with me drinking.
Especially if it's funny.
Yeah, if it's funny, we'll definitely drop it. But I've always thought that. Go on, go ahead.
Like, if I'm like reading something or listening to music, like I'll say it, but I don't speak like that. Like I'm not saying like, "Yo, what's up, my nigga?" So it would just feel weird for me to force that into my everyday thing.
Well, before we leave, I'm going to have you give me a bunch of like South African slang so I can start sprinkling that into my everyday language and really, really appropriating South African culture.
That's what we need. Yeah.
Well, where I grew up, it's like all the kids said it, but my father, who was born in 1941, a black man, never said it. My stepdad, who is substantially younger than that, never says it. But for my culture growing up, it was like that. So I got to admit, I'm kind of with Trey Does on this shit sometimes when I see somebody from, I don't even fucking know, like some other country, whether they're black or not. I'm just like, that's a little weird that you use it in that way. But, you know, if you came to America, the cops are going to think that you're just another one of the regular niggas out here. But it's weird how that word has become this like signifier of rap.
Like I've seen like interviews with rappers who don't talk, they don't have an American accent, but then suddenly in this interview, because they like hyper for performance, and it sounds like you're just listening to an American, like they'll be like, yeah, it's me and my niggas out there, we just killed it, you know, like just like really like the thickest American, and it's just weird. It's just like, I don't know,
it's strange.
It's just
yeah
weird. And it's like all over.
Go ahead, Jet.
I didn't hear what Jet said.
There's also like a linguistic element to it. I mean, I noticed this with singing because I don't really rap, but I do sing, and it's easier to sing with an American accent than it is to sing with a British accent. In my case, I've noticed because American English has more vowels. So like
that makes sense.
I think there is a tendency if you're someone who mostly or predominantly listens to American rap music, when you're trying to squeeze rhymes together, to just use the American vowel sounds.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It like, rolls off easier. Not to like justify that behavior, but like I do.
No. I mean, I think there's been times where I would say, sorry. I was gonna say like there's been times where I might have said an Americanized version of a word to match the rhyme scheme, but it's like my accent's not changing. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah,
I get it.
When I first heard you, and I want to say like the first project that I heard from you was you and the Postureless joint that came out last year, which I love. I want to say that when I first heard you, I was like, well, this is English, but this doesn't sound British. It doesn't sound Australian. It doesn't sound American. And, you know, I wasn't really familiar with any artist in South Africa. And so, and of course, like Borrowed Yeti, shout out to the Discord and shit. He likes to poke fun that, you know, he was like, oh, this guy's got some type of speech impediment or some shit. But
something's wrong with this guy.
But it's, you know, it's just your natural accent. But at the same time, you're not dropping a bunch of N-bombs that signal that's like, yeah, I got a weird accent, but I'm from fucking, you know, I don't know, Ohio or some shit. Like, yeah. So, but that's really interesting to me. I'm curious about the kind of scene in South Africa. Are you a part of like the underground independent weird rap styler scene? Is there a scene like that out there for people?
There is a scene. It's difficult. Like I would say I was more part of it like maybe five years ago or so, when I was really like, yeah, something needs to happen here. And then I started just kind of formed like a group of people that I knew. Like that's where like, because I don't know if you've ever seen, but I say Bottom Rock a lot, and I got Bottom Rock on my Twitter bio and shit. So that's kind of this idea that I've had in my head forever. It's just like this, I don't know if it's a label or a collective or whatever, but that's kind of was my idea at the time. I got a
your
group
music videos come out on a YouTube channel called Bottom Rock, right? A lot of your music videos, right?
Yeah, and my music drops on. I always make that label on DistroKid, Bottom Rock. I'm just putting it in like the, you know, the atmosphere until it becomes what I want it to be. When I figure out what I want it to be. But anyway, so at that time, I kind of started this Bottom Rock thing. Got a group of friends that I knew, did a bunch of different shit. I knew a bunch of people in film school. So like I knew an editor, director, videographer. I knew some other beat makers and some other rappers and shit. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start throwing rap shows. And then we started throwing these rap shows that would like, because there was like very limited, like you couldn't find live rap, you couldn't find live hip hop to watch. Like it just died. What felt like it died, at least in Cape Town. Like the scene, because I'm in Cape Town, like the scene in Joburg is way bigger than in Cape Town. But anyways, at that time, so I started pushing, trying to just get a venue. We used to use the same venue and then just talk to local rappers, like obviously like lesser known rappers, but local rappers, and we would get like it's like 100 people packed in the place watching people do live raps and shit. And then that for me at the time was like, oh shit, people do, want to see this. So we did a few of those and it was going well. And this, I was connecting a lot more with local rappers, meeting people and shit. And then the pandemic hit and that kind of just took all the steam out of it. And I kind of never went back to throwing shows and shit. And I don't even think half of those guys still rap and stuff like that. I mean, there's definitely a scene. One of my homies I still speak to is this guy Master Kai, who is just an incredible rapper, local guy, and he's quite involved in the scene and he does a lot of shit. And but it's like, yeah, so like if you in the south of this side, that's where like everything is and stuff. Like where I'm in the north, it's in the suburbs, so it's like a bit more effort to go that side. And I mean, it's not that much effort, but it's enough effort for me to have not really pushed myself in that direction. And I think when the pandemic hit, a lot of my mindset is like, okay, I need to get better at this. So I kind of just locked in for a while and just rapped a lot and wrote a lot and just kept trying and then started listening to these guys. Like I would listen to like Milo and Billy Woods and them, and then listen to my own music and be like, okay, you're so much worse than them. You need to get like those guys, which is a never-ending mission, but it's a way to keep going and keep getting better.
It's a good piece of inspiration because nobody's obtaining those goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like nobody's
nobody.
reaching them, and if you get good enough to be considered close to them, you're not going to sound like them. You're going to already be your own person because
Yeah,
that's what
sure.
makes them super dope, honing their craft. So, but very interesting. Are there a lot of like South African rappers that that you're familiar with that maybe you're not friends with, but like that are kind of growing a scene and a fandom in South Africa that
Yeah,
like
I mean,
people
there's big rappers here for sure. Like two of my favorite who are more on the mainstream level. There's this dude, 25K, and another guy, McLaren Doughboy. And like McLaren Doughboy specifically, like he raps in like a lot of languages. I don't always know what he's saying. In fact, a lot of the time I don't know what he's saying, but like it's just so dope, just so unique, so like very South African. And I feel like these guys that really embrace like South Africa and come with this unique sound, it's like it really hits hard. So 25K and McLaren Doughboy are two that are like great. I think they're like really blowing up quite a lot right now. And then like I know a lot of like lesser known, like not mainstream level cats like Master Kai and Lucky and like shit. I can't even think of people right now. But like, yeah, there's definitely a lot of rap, and there's definitely like that Nasty C guys from South Africa. He had like a New York Times billboard and stuff like that.
Oh,
For the
wow.
most part, most of the big like mainstream artists like Casper Nyovest and Casper Nyovest is pretty dope, but I don't really listen to him much. But like AKA, he died now, but he was massive. Like it was just not for me. Like I couldn't really get into a lot of the mainstream stuff. But it's like it's good stuff. Like Nasty C kind of reminds me of like J. Cole in a way where it's like, yo, I can see why people think this is dope and why they enjoy it, but it's just never gonna. It's just a bit too not simple. It's just a bit too straightforward for me, maybe, like a bit too like on the nose at times. Even though it's
Sure.
super good, and he does have an album that I love, but again, yeah, I just kind of I tap in with the mainstream and I fall out of it, and then yeah, I get there's a lot of like incredible beat makers this side, and like house music, and I'm not big on house, but the house music scene is massive here. And then I used to be in the server where like most of the musicians were making like electronic music, like like dance music and shit like that. That some of the craziest sounds I've ever heard, just some of the best. And I collabed with a few of them, but just really some of the best producers I've come across. So like there's a lot of talent here for sure.
One of the things that I've been really enjoying over the last year as we kind of start to connect with more people in the community through Discord and such, is that we're coming across like more African artists, and I'm really enjoying how alien it, like some of them feel to me in terms of hip hop. And the reason it feels so alien is that they're authentically making music that is themselves inspired by all of the kind of elements that you need for hip hop music. But you know, you listen to like Clerg. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Like, yeah, KLG Clerg, who you also have collaborated with, and he's from like Cameroon, and
Yeah.
his music doesn't sound like anything, not even the weirdest
Yeah.
West Coast shit. And your music is also strange and interesting, and has all of these elements of like South African life that are reflected through your lyrics, but also through the kind of sound palettes and the kind of atmosphere that you're creating with your work. Like even you know, Rita Sami, like they're like, that's what I want to hear. So when somebody's like, yo, there's dope artists in South Africa, I want to hear the cats who are not trying to ape or emulate and match what Nas did or anything. I want to hear the cats who were inspired by that, but also grew up with some, you know, food and music culture that I have no idea about. You know, I want to hear like the like Congo-tronic weird shit, the you know, William Onyebor type of kids that grew up with that and create hip hop music. And I think that that's one of the really kind of interesting aspects about your personal work. While you have a lot of the kind of I don't know how I'd call it, like some of the trappings of a lot of people in our community. Obviously, you work with a lot of people in our community, like PTY and Nakama and all these people we love. You always bring yourself into it, and it comes across in your accent and, you know, just your style of approach. And I think that that's one of the really, like, for me, it makes your music, it makes that part of it like really interesting to me. And I don't mean that in like an ethnographer type of way where I'm like, wow, look at all these Cameroonians and how fucking weird they are. Like, what
It's
does
so
it
nice
mean?
to see
Like,
the Africans making music.
you know what I mean? So it's like, it's really dope. And I
Yeah,
thank
sure.
you, and I thank, you know, Mendici. I thank Dark Cow for kind of bringing those elements within our Discord, and your guys' work together and what you guys are doing, and how you guys, you know, in our theory rooms, you guys are always bringing in these socio-political elements that are happening in South Africa. And it's a good reminder that the global struggle is dynamic and not fixed. Even when
Mhm.
we're hearing about Elon Musk, you know, one of the most famous South Africans at this point, and also one of the greatest reflections of the worst sides that ever came out of South Africa. And
Yeah,
you guys are amazing, man. So thank you for that. Like,
thanks.
if if
Thanks.
if
Appreciate that.
if somebody was to, if somebody came up to you and was like, yo, what's the first album that I should listen to of yours? Because I haven't heard any of your acoustic love songs that you made, you know,
No,
10,
they're
20,
gone.
12
They're
years ago.
gone off the internet.
I haven't heard any of that. Yeah, but like, if somebody was like, yo, you know, I'm a weird hip hop guy, I like hip hop music, what's the first album that you would recommend somebody that kind of captures a lot of the elements of what you're trying to put down in your music?
To be honest, it would probably be the album with Mandisi, the 19521. I think that's the right number. 19521 Chaos, because that's like, I feel like with him, that was like the first time I approached writing an album in a very like, because usually I'm kind of just like, I'm very stream of consciousness at times. I feel like I follow like a lot of thematic elements and I keep it in line and everything makes sense in context and stuff. But for a lot of the time, I'm kind of just waiting for something to kind of flow through me, you know what I mean, and then working on it from there. But with like Mandisi, like I kind of approached it in a very specific way where I was like, okay, I think I was reading Octavia Butler at the time and just reading a lot about apartheid and stuff. So I approached the album where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this apocalyptic kind of future thing, because the beats that it gives me just gives me that, you know, kind of end of the world,
Dystopian kind of
yeah, dystopian shit. So I was like,
rusty.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
And then because he's like a fiction writer, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of just gonna like try and do something similar to that. So I approached it in a way where I'm like putting myself in like these future scenarios and stuff like that, and apocalyptic scenarios, and then I'm trying to kind of contrast it with the shit that's already happened and like has happened and is happening. So I'm kind of like trying to paint pictures of an apocalypse and then paint pictures of an apartheid and be like, hey, look, yeah, not so different, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
I
old
like it.
boss same as the new boss. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it was just like it was interesting because it was my whole approach was kind of just about humanity and like where this is going and where this has been, and now it's kind of like, is this just cycles of shit? So
Yes.
it was interesting and it was
Yes, it
fun.
is.
And like
Yeah.
like I would get like more specific in the lyrics that I wouldn't usually do, and like saying stuff like drones in the sky looking like UFOs, cameras watching like over us, like shit like that. Like that was very fun for me. And I think that also it shows like a side of me that's like a little weirder, a little more like like I'm not. It shows a side of me that like, oh, she's not really rapping like other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although I do think I do that on Memory Streams Reflections as well. I think Memory Streams Reflections is a more palatable album, maybe.
I agree with you.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like it's maybe just not as out there. But again, like
Yeah.
I love
I
both
think
those albums.
I enjoy both albums, but I think one of my favorite songs from you that's actually from your project is probably like Tangled. And
Yeah, some people say
I'm
that.
such a hoe for like a vocal sample, and you really bombed that, and I really enjoy that beat. But yeah, what you and Mandisi did, and he's such a phenomenal drummer and just
Yeah,
a phenomenal person and a creative writer as well. Like it's weird to think that his writing is like even better than like his drumming, maybe, or vice versa.
yeah,
But
it's
but
crazy.
how did he's also South African, yeah?
Mm.
How
Yeah,
did
yeah.
how did y'all link up?
So we were both that server I was telling you about earlier, where it's like a lot of electronic music producers and stuff. We were both in that server, and then we both kind of started realizing we both like hip hop. So we would talk about hip hop in that server, and then eventually I joined the Rap Music Plug podcast server, and I told him he should join it as well. And then yeah, we've just been more active in that server then. But I've never met him, and then like just through Discord shit, we started DMing each other and being like, yo, we should make a. Because when he heard me rap, he was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. You know what I mean? And then obviously when I heard his shit, it was like, okay, this is some out there super, like just shit that's gonna put me in a headspace I've never been before, and that's what I
High
want. And
level
it came like,
fucking
yeah, because like,
music quality, yeah.
yeah, and while like the album was being made, like we like talking to each other in the DMs and shit about like like classic South African shit, like identity struggle and stuff. Like as a colored man, like I'm basically in a perpetual identity crisis of who I am and why am I because it's like there's so many different elements and nuances that come with being a South African, I guess. And there's like yeah, because it's just interesting because like
Yeah.
the album was made as we were kind of building our relationship and getting to know each other just through Discord and shit. And I feel like the because of that the album really came out pretty much was as good as I was hoping for.
And that's the most recent album, like full project that you've released, yeah?
Yeah. So for me,
Okay.
like I've been rapping for 10 years, but I feel like I started last year, kind of.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, I just
Why
feel like
why
it's
why would
only
you say
really
that?
started. Feels like all the years before I was kind of just making sure that I can style out, like I can do all the styles that I want, and now I'm kind of putting it together because I do think that over. So
There's a pretty meaningful separation between being able to rap and being able to make music.
yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of great MCs who aren't great musicians, and vice versa. Um,
Yeah,
I
so
think
that's kind of how I felt about myself. Yeah, and then like now I feel like I've started putting shit together and I'm making projects that sound different from each other where I am because I do believe I got a lot of styles, and I feel like over the next few years as I'm dropping shit, people will see like, oh, this guy's rapping in so many different and interesting ways that I can't help but be like drawn to it. Even if I don't initially like it, there's something about it that's making me come back to it. And like it feels more now and maybe last year and the year before that I've kind of started putting the pieces together in the way that I would like to more than any of the years before. So even the like I listen to my older music sometimes, not sometimes, maybe like once a year, but like I still like it. But it's just I just feel like I've gotten so much better.
As an artist, there's a growth there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I've like when you I think coming into contact with artists like Illicit and Billy Woods, for example, one of the like things that they did for me was like, oh shit, because there was a period where I was like, oh, if I want to do this, I'm gonna need to start changing how I make music and start adapting to this more kind of mainstream style. And then I listened to like Rory and Billy Woods and Illicit, and I was like, oh, I can just be myself. It wasn't like I'm gonna copy these guys. It was just like, oh, these guys are giving me the freedom to rap how I want to rap, and now I can get weird with it. Now I can switch my style up 8 bars into a verse and start throwing like a random like I can do whatever I want now. And when I had that mindset, things kind of changed for me. And then I started rapping weird. Sometimes I'd say 4 bars that I only figure out 3 days later. You know what I mean? Like I just started getting weird with it, and the freedom that came with that just kind of energized me in a way. And then that like kind of coincided with me becoming part of these Discord communities, which I really didn't expect to energize me in the way that it has. It's become a big part of like, it's just like a little interesting international hip hop community of people supporting each other. And that's been like, that's been great.
Yeah, I second you on both points. Like there was a point, like I've said before, but I'm an old hip hop head. I started breaking when I was 12, and I had like, when I was 12 to like 16, 17, even when we're hearing weird shit like Dr. Octagon, there was a certain point in time where I was like, oh, like hip hop is anything. Like there's not really any rules. And when you listen to somebody like an Illicit or whatever Illicit is doing, or Woods, there's so many artists who are doing that. It's just you realize, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want, and because I'm hip hop, it's gonna be hip hop shit. It's unassailable. It's just what it is. And you've had so many incredible collaborations with a huge spectrum of artists in just a lot of weird shit, like the Sasco joint, the fucking PTY joint. The fucking last, is it Clerg? Am I fucking that up? Do the French style. Do the French style. No, tell me the French one. Is it KLG Clerg or is it Clerget? Clerget. I don't know. Right. I don't know how to freak it.
French. So. I can't
remember which way the accent is on that last name.
Okay. Even if I could remember it, I don't know how to freak the accents like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. You showed me like a umlaut. I have no idea what that shit means. But anyways, like you have such a wide variety of collaborations, and you always bring a certain element of interesting to it. And also these Discord communities, man, there's something about it that feels, I'm not an internet person. I don't like to post and be on the timeline and respond to people's pictures and have our pictures respond to. I don't like doing that. But inside of the Discord communities that I'm active in, which is essentially just Rap Music Plug Podcast in our Discord, there's a real community of people there who are becoming friends, who are exchanging art, who are collaborating, creating these new spontaneous forms of chaos that have like order to them. And so to me, if people are like, yo, what would you want to hear me on? I'm like, yo, there's like 15 people in the Discord that I'd be down to hear you on the track. Like fucking, like I'm a huge fan of Tetsuo for his stream of conscious, heavy stackaging, heavy alliteration, and all the poetic devices he uses. And I'm looking, and it's like, yo, I don't want to hear Tetsuo necessarily with fucking Rory or like Rap Ferreira or or Cardi B or party, what is it, Playboy Cardi. I don't want to hear him with that. I want to hear him with Rap Man Gavin, and I want to hear him with fucking, like
On
those
that
people.
note, he actually messaged the other day for us to do something together. So
You gotta bomb it
we'll
with him.
get
You
your
gotta
wish.
bomb it
Yeah.
with him. Those communities are so they enrich my life in a way that I haven't really felt for since the age of like forums, international communities of people fucking around.
It's funny you say that because, like, so one, anyone watching this, join the Discord if you haven't. But I made that Discord, the Secret House Discord. I made that shit like 6 to 9 months before anybody else actually joined it. Before we actually started using it and promoting it on the channel. Explicitly, the reason I left it so long was because I was like, nah, Mega's not gonna give a fuck about any of this internet shit. Like, Mega's not gonna care about like wild internet. So I just let it sit there for like the best part of a year before we actually started making a community out of it. And then you spend more time on it than I do.
Yeah, I'll be in there. And the last 2 weeks not so much because I've been in the shambles, but we got like 91 people in there, and for the most part, everybody's cooling. And if somebody starts tripping, we tack it down, but we don't tack it down like stop being a bitch. We tack it down like, yo, this is a community of like-minded people that we're not trying to fuck around with. Like, play the game elsewhere and have a good time here. And thank you, Rap Man Gavin, and all of your collaborators, even PTY, fucking Mandisi is one of my favorite people, and I don't even know what that brother looks like at all. I've at least seen your rap music videos and shit. Like, I love that place, and thank you for always being dope there. One thing that I feel I would feel, excuse me, one thing that I would feel kind of like remiss on, because it seems like people always look to me about theory and shit. Obviously you have a leftist tendency, and you've been around me long enough to know that if you're not a Marxist, I'm trying to push you to be a Marxist. I'm curious about your parents' political leanings, and if any of that imprinted on you, or are they more towards your kind of Western liberal perception of society?
My father was the ANC guy for the longest time. So they
Can
ANC.
Can you explain that for the listeners? What the what is it?
The
African
ANC.
National. Okay,
Yeah. So the
the
ANC were basically the leading party with like the South African Communist Party and others in fighting apartheid and being like they were banned. That's Mandela's party. That's like the gist of it. It's like they were just full of struggle heroes, apartheid activists. They're the people who got us out of apartheid. So yeah, he was an ANC guy for long, but again, it's like I don't think my father was that like tapped into like he's voting for these guys because they're fighting against the struggle. He's not voting for them because of their Marxist theories and their different like deeper political opinions. Although he is like well versed on that, it's more like what I'm seeing is what I'm voting for, and that's what I'm gonna vote for. And then
I love Malcolm X, but I'm not a Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like
You know
my mother, I'm pretty sure she also voted for ANC in all the early years, but my mother's a very super Christian lady. So I think most of the time she just votes for like the Christian party. And I say, well, that's dumb. And she says, well, I do what I want. You don't tell me what to do. And then that's the end of that conversation. Yeah, but I've been all over the place politically. I've been like, because like in South Africa, like post-apartheid South Africa, like I'm growing up, I'm born 1994. So that's the literal start of Mandela's reign. As a kid and stuff, like obviously not taking anything in, but the rhetoric, like the message they're trying to push is the Rainbow Nation, everything's good, we all good message. So for the first few years, that's the vibe that you get. Even into Mbeki's presidency, that's the vibe that you get. Then stuff start going wrong, where you start seeing, oh shit, this guy who's been a struggle hero and apartheid activist who I've respected all my life just stole 300 million from the government while we still have townships that have no money, you know what I mean? And then that starts happening more and more and more. So you have more and more people kind of losing their trust in the ANC and what the ANC are. And it's just like losing the trust. Like there was there's been so, like, I think we were speaking about it recently in Discord, like there's been so many like failed state-owned companies that people will, because of that, switch entirely over and be like free market capitalism is the solution to everything. And like, I mean, there was a period where I was like, maybe capitalism is the answer because somebody needs to do something and come in and fix this shit. Like maybe after a year I got over that, and then I just was like, I don't know.
I
It's
had a
just like,
libertarian phase myself. I had a libertarian phase in the tens
yeah. It's just like
or in
you
the
get.
aughts.
I was
Maybe the
just,
aughts.
I was like angry at like government. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, and then like, obviously, like I just guess the older I got, the more left I leaned, and the more I learned, the more left I leaned and stuff. And again, I'm still like, I'm not that tapped into everything, like theory wise and stuff, but I know what my morals and my values are, and I know what I want for the world. And I feel like what I want more than anything, I feel like the basis of my political stance is that I feel like the distribution of wealth needs to be resolved. So that kind of is at the core of what I believe. I don't know how that needs to be solved, but it needs to be solved. You can't have like, that's basically where my position comes from. Where even though I'm still figuring out that position, I know that the distribution of wealth, something needs to change because there can't be billionaires and people dying in townships. So that's like the essence of where I stand politically. And then like guys like Steve Biko really inspired me, like just these old black consciousness movement, and like he's a guy that's quite inspired by uh Fanon. Is that how you say
Yes,
it?
right.
Yeah, yeah. So like you get a lot of that trickling into what he's talking about, and his whole thing was like, you know, Pan-Africanism and like grouping together, stop letting white people speak for us. Like it is just a lot of things that kind of inform you about the reality. Like just reading through his book will give you so much like insight because it's just essays that he wrote, and it gives you so much insight into the like reality of just being a black man in apartheid South Africa and shit. And I feel like because of that, I feel like every South African in this country should have a deep, you know, like commitment to being like, we won't stand for injustice. It's why like when South Africa took Israel to the international court, as futile as it may have been, that is like a big proud moment for me, like seeing the country, because we said in the 90s, in the 80s, that we stand with Palestine and we won't stop fighting for our freedom till they're free, and we stood by it. So for me, that's like what it should be all about. Even like there's a lot of people calling it performative, a lot of people calling it this and that, but like these are the guys that fought in the struggle. You know what I mean? Like they like, for me it just seemed very genuine. Like, no, we're not gonna stand and let everybody kind of just do whatever they want. We're gonna at least try. So yeah, that's, yeah, I guess that's where I stand on
For
those
sure.
things.
I typically, as much as I tell people to read theory, I mostly tell people to read theory who are spending their time just reading bullshit like tweets. Like read theory. If you're going to spend time reading tweets, read theory. But I'm not the type of person that believes that class consciousness is going to come from you reading Marx. I think that class
Yeah,
consciousness is comes from you understanding that identity is not the thing that brings people together. Experience is the thing that brings people together. And once you understand that, you start looking at your neighbor, you start looking at your coworker, and you start to understand that the divisions that we the arbitrary divisions that we draw are just other forms of the kind of bifurcation of the colonized and the colonizer. And we all kind of function in this way that repeats this cycle. I'm not going to get too into political theory with you because we do that elsewhere, and I really wanted to take this opportunity to kind of talk more with you. But I see you as a comrade. I see you building. I see what you're talking about, and especially in this particular political moment where the United States is vilifying South Africans for all the
yeah, shit, you
dirty,
guys,
mean
that guy's
things that
gonna
were
bomb
did.
us.
You know, like, yeah, like it's just an interesting thing, and it's also one of the reasons that I wanted to spend so much of this conversation discussing your experience as a South African person, and also a hip hop person and a comrade. One other thing that I really wanted to kind of get into regarding your music is this, like you said earlier, like this kind of free form, loose thought association approach to your music, which for some people that might seem like a word salady to some people, like, you know, just saying whatever and things of that nature. But I don't see your work as that at all. I actually pull a lot of meaning and a lot of thoughtfulness and what seems to be a lot of care into your approach to writing and to your approach to expressing yourself through rap. What is kind of your writing process when it comes to making a song? Do you write first, or do you listen to a beat, or do you kind of have rhymes and apply them to a beat? Like the whole kind of approach to your creative expression.
Yeah, so I kind of have different approaches. Like ideally, I play the beat, I listen to the beat a few times, and it just kind of comes to me, and I'm just like, my best case scenario for me is when I kind of feel like I'm just a vessel, and I'm listening to the beat, and I'm waiting, and then the shit comes and it comes through me, and it's not like, I'm a big believer in no filler lines. So like when I'm stream of consciousness, the rapping, and I'm going through that shit, and I don't like something, if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm taking it out. But as long as I can kind of capture different moments in these 4 bars here and here and here and here, then I'm kind of fine with it. So ideally, I play the beat and I start writing to them. But then often that doesn't work. So I would have to like kind of, if I'm struggling with a beat for days and I'm not getting anything, I stop listening to the beat and I just start writing raps. And then like just different 4 bars, yeah, it doesn't have to connect, whatever. And then I'll kind of go back to the beat, and then I'll start trying to connect, trying to get the flow right and get it to go. If I'm really, really stuck, then I kind of take a notepad out and I just start writing down tons of words that I like. And then I go, okay, first 4 bars use this word, next 4 bars use this word, next 4 bars use this word, next 4 bars use that word. And for some reason that works for me. So yeah, I got like my main process and then my beat writer's block process. Yeah.
Did you know when you were writing your verse for PTY that you were going to look in the album?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's
I did not.
Because you like launched straight into it, and I felt like I was like, oh, okay.
He
PTY
knew.
gave some direction. He was like, look, you're kicking this off. There's like a moment, there's some ambience beforehand, and then you just absolutely rip into it.
This is the hottest summer on record. I need you to come in hot. That's what I thought too. I thought for sure it was like, yo, we need you to, the hardest shit you ever got. Burn your hands.
Did you know you were coming to on the track?
I can't remember. It's just, yeah. These beats though are just like, I don't know. When I do features, I kind of feel obligated to just. It's always like, this is a new, potentially some new audience, and I need to kind of make a point.
I'm realizing I just fucked up too. I also did a PTY and a Sasco thing. My bad. I said hottest summer already. That's just that Sasco shit, not the PTY shit. Excuse me. But what I'm saying is the same shit. It was hot. It was fire. When you write your rhymes, do you write do you write like a physical paper and pen, or are you using a phone, or do you just use DeepSeek, Google AI type of shit?
Yeah, I just go on ChatGPT and say, give me the latest South African news and turn it into a rhyme. No. I just use my notepad. It's just easy.
Oh, notepad.
On my phone though. Like I need it to be on my phone because I need access to that at all times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know if I know how to write with a pencil anymore. To be honest with you, like, yeah, but
I was writing with a pen not that long ago, and like I couldn't figure out how to spell a word, and I couldn't just press something that would I couldn't spell it wrong and then press something that would change it for me.
Oh yeah, if I had to write everything with pen, people like I would never spell convenience right. I still don't know how to spell convenience in this day and age, but man, that's I'm a huge supporter of your work, and I try to buy everything that you put out just on the strength of
Thank
me
you.
appreciating your art and not just being homies. But do you have anything coming up? Like what's in store for us for 2025?
Well, hopefully this year you'll get an album produced by Lou, which is kind of at the end stretch, and an album produced by Jesse the Tree. And then
What? Jesse the Tree.
yeah. So he produced that's almost done as well. It's just kind of I need to maybe add a couple of tracks and then
How
do the
did y'all
mixing.
link? How did y'all link? Because I don't think Jesse the
Yeah.
Tree is a South African tree. I think he lives in
No,
America.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hit him up on the strength of like just I love your music type shit. I think Sage Francis was on a podcast and they were talking about some spiritual Eastern philosophy shit that I was into, and then I was speaking to Jesse about it, and he knew I was a fan, but we were just speaking about this, and then he was kind of just like, this is a couple years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, and he was just like, oh yo, I just watched your video of you rapping on your Instagram. Do you need beats? And then he sent me like 4 or 5 beats, and I made like an EP, and we dropped this little EP on Bandcamp. And ever since then, he's just been like a big supporter, always willing to send me shit. And I'm super grateful for him. He's just one of those guys that I came across, and immediately he was like, yo, you're good. People should know that you're good, and I'm gonna help you as much as I can.
That's really dope because I'm a big fan of Jesse the Tree for his artistic
He's the
talent.
best,
I've
man.
not really I've never communicated with him, I don't think, like even on a like thank you for listening type of thing, but I'm a huge fan of him, and in his music he comes across as a good person. So it's nice to hear that also he's in the mud with somebody like you and recognizing your talent, and it makes sense to me because I see
Yeah,
the
for
ability
sure.
too. So I didn't know you had an EP with Jesse the Tree. Like I said,
Yeah,
I
it's
recently
on
got tapped into your
like
music.
yeah, for sure. It
Yeah.
was a couple of years ago, I think. But yeah, it's
Okay.
only like 4 songs. It's only like 4 songs, kind of just testing the waters. But it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. And then other than that, I'm like working on a bunch of shit. I'm working on shit with Sasko. Um, that will be an album, but I am taking my time with that. And Sasko's telling me I better hurry up or he's gonna beat my ass. So
Yeah.
hopefully that gets along. And then I just got some beats from Reese Langston. So hopefully we drop an EP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, like I've been trying to like really love Reese. I appreciate his art, but I'm waiting for the album where it really connects with me. I just haven't had it yet, but phenomenally talented. I'm excited to hear you guys fuck around too and make some really dope
Yeah,
shit.
he's super good. Yeah,
We did
yeah.
one review of him.
Yeah, we got Joaquin Fox in the
Yep.
Discord, collaborator recently.
Yeah.
They worked together a bunch of times.
Shout out to Joaquin, he's ill. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to see you guys work together actually.
Yeah, that would be dope too, for sure.
With Joaquin.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we will. I actually need to send him a feature.
How often are you recording verses? Are you like rapping every week? Are you making songs every week, every month, every day? Like
last year, maybe way more. I used to write a lot. I used to record a lot. This year, I've been way more on the back foot. Just kind of, I'm kind of like getting back in the swing of things, but it's been much slower this year. And I've been like trying to finish stuff up, focus more on that than kind of make new shit. Because if I take on any new shit now, I'm kidding myself. So I'm trying to get some shit done. So I haven't really been writing and recording that much, other than like re-recording verses and like, adding layers here and there and stuff like that. But yeah, I should hopefully be back in the swing of things soon. And then I usually try and at least write a verse or 2 a week, because that's like a reasonable goal. And then if I get in the mood, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna write a verse a day for like the next 5 days or something like that. And then sometimes I'll just like let those stack up. Sometimes I won't even use beats, and then eventually when you get to recording, it just makes things quicker.
Yo, do they do a lot of like, I mean, I know weed is like global, but is there like, do y'all be smoking weed out there like that?
Yeah.
Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Is that a part of your process
crazy.
at all? I don't want to like, put the feds on you or anything like that, but for me,
for sure.
I don't rap, I don't freestyle unless I got a little tree in me. And it's just what unlocks like a language center in my brain. I think just because as I grew up rapping, that was such a part of the process. Even when I grew up writing poetry, that was such a part of the process that now to the point like I don't ask me to rap unless I've touched a tree a little bit. Is that something for you too, or?
Yeah, no, for sure. But at the same time,
I'm the
it's kind
feds
of a
right
part
now.
of my. It's kind of a
I'm the
part of
feds
my.
right. Yeah,
Kind of
we
a part
solo,
of my
bro. I don't
everything.
really worry about it. Yeah,
Like yeah,
but
no,
okay.
no. It's like it's always been kind of a spark. Like there's been so many times in my life where it's just helped me. So it would never not be a part of my creative process.
Sure.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you also got like whose locks are longer, you or Castro's? Because you got super long
I think
locks, right?
Castro's. Mine is like
Yeah.
mine goes down
Shit.
to like.
No,
This-
Castro locks
If
are
I
like-
go,
Yeah.
if I go,
like,
Castro's locks are tall as me.
yeah.
Yo, that
Castro
shroom shirt is
like-
fucking fire too.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. How long have you been locking up your hair?
Well, I didn't cut my hair. I haven't cut my hair like since 2012. So after high school, my hair kind of grew into an afro. Then I just stopped combing it out and shit, and it kind of just dreaded itself into locks. And then just left
Okay.
it.
I dig it. You got a real like natural locks look, not manicured locks. Yeah, that's what you're gonna do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do need to go get it a bit tightened up or something. It's getting out of control here.
No, I
But,
dig it. I
yeah.
fucking rock with it heavy.
Thank you.
You know, I asked the Discord for questions, and we got a lot of fucking jokes. But one question that I did want to ask is, PTY asked, what is your kind of dream producer collaboration? Obviously, I think I'd like to limit to like living producers right now. Who would be a dream producer collaboration? I'm talking full project production. Shout out to PTY.
Blockhead.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
I mean,
possible. Blockhead only works like Blockhead. I haven't seen him do like a full production album with a single MC outside of like Aesop. Yeah, has he done one?
Known unknowns and
Oh right.
Billy Woods, yeah.
But I mean that's fucking
So
Woods.
I just have to be
Power
as good as
Candy,
Billy
yeah.
Woods or Aesop Rock. So
Yeah. Okay,
easy.
but yeah,
I mean,
Blockhead.
there are a few like Blockhead's just like the one for me. Like if I'm talking like unattainable dreams, it's like it's Blockhead. Others I would say
Put it into the
definitely-
ether. Put it into the ether, man.
Yeah,
I believe.
putting it
I
out,
remain
putting it out
optimistic.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely August Fanon, Messiah Music. I would love to make music with. Shit, man, there's so many producers that I love.
What about collaborative MC joints? Like unexpected ones. Of course, you'd want to be on with a Lucid and Milo and Billy Woods, but like an unexpected MC that you love that you would love to be on track with. Party B, Cardi G. What is it? Playboy G, Playboy Cardi. I know
Fuck
rap.
Playboy
I know
Cardi.
rap.
No, I don't mean that. Fuck Playboy Cardi. Please don't attack me. But fuck Playboy Cardi.
Well, you know our listeners, they love that person. So
I don't know, dude. That's a difficult question. An MC I would love to collab with that's not obvious. I feel like all my answers are obvious.
well,
I would love
anybody
to
that
do
you
a-
haven't said, because you know, obviously we're
Okay.
championing some of our favorites, but like you know, even
I would-
Quelle Chris or Cav or something like that.
Well, I would love to do a posse cut with Nakama, Hester, and Snot Nose Salim.
I don't know that last person. What was the last person's name?
Snot Nose Salim, Snotty. Like you're like
Okay.
that's like one of the best rappers there is. He's weird as shit. He's aggressive, radical, and it's not all he can do. He can rap like anybody else in casual beats and stuff, but just his whole approach there's just nobody else rapping like him. Like definitely you should tap into his project Intifada and his Shards EPs. Just really fire shit. Just
Well, Intifada sounds it sounds like some of up my alley, but of course, like Jed and I are huge
he's up your
champions of
alley.
Nakama. huge champions of Nakama. We love Nakama.
Come on, and Hester,
Eh,
friends of the show. That's
He-
absolutely something you could make happen.
Hester, you know, whenever I hear people talk about Hester, they always say like he's the best of us. He's the illest. Sun Moon D, Shamar, and I see why. But yeah, that one will be fire. I'm gonna tap into how many you said too to figure it out. But yeah,
I'll send you the link on the Discord. Yeah.
please
I just
share
got
it up. Share it up.
I got a Hester feature that's so good.
Oh yeah.
So good.
So since we're getting up to like, you know, an hour and 15 right now, usually I like to keep these to around an hour and a half, as they're casual or whatever. I wanted to ask you kind of like a bunch of, you know, rifle off a bunch of questions for you and see what I sent you kind of a few of them earlier.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just a one or two sentence type of answers, or maybe we go off on tangents, but I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions right now and just answer them whatever how you feel. What is the first movie you remember watching?
Blair Witch Project. When I was like 6.
At 6 years old, you watched that?
It wasn't like the first, like there were memories of like Lion King and shit maybe before then, but that's the memory that stands out. Like when I think of the earliest movie memory I have, that's the movie I remember.
I thought you said your mom is Christian. That movie is fucking witchcraft and scary as shit for a 6-year-old.
Like my parents, I had older brothers. My parents just kind of let them take care of everything. So like when
the third kid gets away with the most.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The baby gets away with the most.
Yeah, I didn't choose the movie. My brothers chose the movie, and I watched that shit, thinking it was real, thinking it's absolutely real, and that freaked me out.
I think a lot of people did. That last scene where the guy's in the corner at the end, that shit scared the fuck out of me. And I was fucking like 18 or something. I was already grown.
I mean, like the marketing they did for the movie, they were like speaking to people in the neighborhood and shit like that. They really made it seem like, oh, this is some real shit that happened and stuff. So it was just genius. And I rewatched it a few years ago. It didn't like hold up as much, obviously, compared to me being fucking terrified 6-year-old. Right. But it's always stuck out in my memory.
It's also tethered to like very specific things that don't necessarily lend itself to a rewatch. The first time you see it, there's that kind of illusion of like, is it real? Is it not? And also it's been parodied so much, and also so many other films have come after it. But yeah, that one's that's an interesting first type of watch. Next question. What are like 4 of your favorite albums of all time?
Okay, I'd say Ethiops in no order. Ethiops, Good Kid, Mad City, some rap songs by all, and then Space Werewolves Will Be the End of Us All by Blockhead, which I think is an incredibly underrated album.
I haven't.
People who take mushrooms.
I may have heard that, but I don't remember that one. Like my Blockhead albums are a little bit. Some of the older ones, but
like music
I gotta check that one out. What about like 4 of your favorite MCs?
Probably all pretty obvious. Billy Woods, of course, Elucid. Right now, Cavalier, I think, might be the best rapper alive. And Kendrick. I've just always loved Kendrick. Kendrick's just my guy. Yeah.
Rank his catalog for us.
Kendrick.
Yeah, rank his albums. Your 1 to 4 or 1 to 6, whatever he has.
Okay, my 1 and 2 are always interchangeable, but at the moment I would say Good Kid, Mad City first, To Pimp a Butterfly second, Untitled Unmastered third, Section 80 fourth, and then I'd probably put Mr. Morale and then Damn.
Boo! Yuck. No. Okay. The Untitled Unmastered is good. GNX last?
Ah, shit! I forgot about that. I'd put GNX before Mr. Morale.
Okay.
Probably just after Section 80. I've bumped that album so much. I feel like I'll only really know where it's in the rankings like after like 3 years, because like I was listening to Good Kid, Mad City for like 12 years. You know what I mean? It's like. GNX isn't going to bump anything like that out. But I do think GNX is a great album. It's a lot of fun. I feel like Kendrick's having his most fun on that record, even though he still has his like moments of doing his Kendrick shit and stuff like that. But I just dig it.
I know my wife loves it. She plays it more than I ever have. I've only played it like 2 or 3 times, but every time I come home and there's music on, my wife has got.
What is your guys' ranking? How do you guys rank the catalog?
Oh, To Pimp a Butterfly 1, Good Kid, Mad City 2. I usually don't put Untitled Unmastered in my list, but To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City, Damn, Section 80, and then I would say GNX, even though I don't like it that much. And then real far back, I would put fucking Mr. Morale. I do not like Mr. Morale.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I know Cinema Sai also hates Dylan. Like he hates that album.
Well, you know, he's a genius. He's a really brilliant, a really brilliant mind, and I agree with him. Yeah, Dylan's a genius.
I agree with you, mate, completely.
Yeah?
Like,
Pretty-
TPAB first.
Yeah.
Then Good Kid second.
Yeah.
Pretty Damn. Then maybe Untitled next.
To-
in there.
To be honest with you, yeah.
GNX and Mr. Morale.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I probably go back to Damn the most. I think that's like his most easy listening album for me. When I go back to Good Kid, Mad City, like since the day it dropped, I never liked the fucking Poetic Justice shit with fucking Drake. I never liked that.
That hasn't aged great, but I mean that album is full of so many classics.
But maybe my favorite.
Also hasn't aged spectacularly, but
It's fine though. It's dope. It's dope. Really good hip hop. My favorite Kendrick song is probably Money Trees. I fucking love that song. I love the beach house flip. I love everything about that song. That might be my favorite Kendrick song of all time. When it comes to that, like I don't do Untitled Unmastered in the same way I don't do like the Black Panther soundtrack. You know what I mean?
I honestly could hardly tell you the songs. I listened to it recently, but I think I didn't like Black Panther the movie, so I was just like, I'm not gonna listen to this album.
I had a good time with it. We was out here. We had like 40 black folks in the theater. We all went together for Black Panther. It was fun for that.
That sounds sick.
And we was loud in the theater. Japanese people were probably mad and shit. It was funny.
I think people overhyped it for me before I went to watch it. They were like, "Yo, this is about to be the best movie you've ever seen."
One of the good guys is in the fucking CIA, nigga. Come on, man. Don't fucking trick me. Like technology. I don't like that shit. But okay, let me keep us moving. Who do you think is the best writer? Your favorite writer in rap?
Like a rapper,
just really good, technically written bars.
It's difficult for me to choose between A$AP Rocky and Billy Woods because I feel like it's like there's like song like that Pigeonometry song on what was that album's name? Integrated Tech Solution.
Integrated Tech, yeah.
I can't like fathom how you sit down and you write that and do it so perfectly. Like it just every time I listen to him, it's just like maybe I should just quit.
Yeah,
it's just.
I feel the same way about A$AP, but like when I listen to Cav, I'm kind of. I also, but when I listen to Cav, it's almost not like writing. I'm like, yo, he probably just be feeling the shit. You know what I mean? He too swaggy to really like pen it like that. But like when I listen to A$AP, and I'm really biased right now, listening to the Prim Rock shit, we got it early from Prim, and oh my god, some of the writing on that album, he's like Doom mixed with A$AP to me in a lot of ways. But I love them.
Phenomenal. I've been listening to the EP from last year a lot.
With Willie Green, the Willie Green shit.
I only listened to it for the first time maybe like a month ago, and I've just been bumping it nonstop. It's just like every time I really listen to Premier Rock, it's always like, okay, it's one of the best writers alive.
Well, I like the way his mind works. Like I said, it reminds me of early A$AP mixed with Doom on this weird technical level, but also like able to twist and turn a phrase like Doom. But he's not funny like Doom. He's deep and philosophical like early A$AP with long run-on sentences. But his timing is so spectacular. And when you start to listen to the nuances of the way he's writing and the way he's landing on the beat, he's fucking nuts. My favorite song of the year, we're doing the review next weekend. My favorite song of the year, Receipts. Wait for the review, listeners. Thank you for joining in. You know what I mean? But the Prim Rock shit, amazing. Who do you think?
When does that Prim Rock album drop? Next week.
Next Friday, the 21st. Yeah. What are some of your favorite films?
I recently watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind again, which I really love as a movie. I'm a big fan of the Before trilogy as well. There's like
Wait, let's go back to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's the first time you watched it?
No. That's like the fourth time I've watched it.
Yeah. So was the earlier acoustic Rap Man Gavin goat shit on that level?
I think that's probably what
bad, bro. That movie hurts my heart. It's good.
It's like I think that's why it hit the first time, because I was like, oh shit, this makes me sad. And I hadn't watched it in ages because I was like, I don't feel like getting sad. And then I watched it and then I got a little sad. But that's also the
musical score done by John Bryan is amazing. One of the songs is called like Telephone. I've heard that song probably like 100 times. I used to read to it all the time, more than 100 times. I used to read to that all the time. It's just beautiful music composition with a really kind of incredible sci-fi magical realism type of story. Great film. Go on to your other ones before I start just talking shit.
I was gonna, what was I saying? Oh, the Before trilogy with what's that director's name? Richard Linklater. It's like Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before something. I can't remember all of the names, but it's basically just like, you know, a lot of dialogue. It's like woman and man meet in the city, like typical romance shit. But what I really liked about the trilogy is that, like, I think the one movie came out in the 90s, and then like in 2004, and then like in 2011, and each time it's like, then when the next movie came out, that amount of years has passed, like in the story, and you see where they are, and it got like really real. I really liked like those dialogue heavy movies a lot early. Another movie I recently saw that I think may be one of the best horror movies I've ever seen is When Evil Lurks, which Prim Rock actually recommended on Twitter. And I thought that shit was incredible.
It's a horror film.
Yeah,
it's like a horror gore film. I don't watch them too often. My wife don't like horror films. I never watch them.
There's some gore in there, and there's some scenes that like really made me just be like, how did they get away with putting this in a movie? It's just, but it's I will leave you with no hope at all either. There's like not, but it's just so good, so good. I really love it's a boring answer, but I really love that old Batman trilogy. With the Dark Knight, the
Nolan for sure.
Yeah, I used to love that.
Me and my daughter are watching that right now. We just watched Batman Begins the other day, and of course, up next is the best of the three probably. My favorite of the three is Begins because it seems like a superhero movie still, and then it gets like harder realism. But Dark Knight is amazing.
I think the first two are particularly good. The third one I liked, but I didn't like it as much.
Sure.
I had another movie now that Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really loved that movie. And then like I like a lot of like the Studio Ghibli shit that's come out, like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro. I always forget the name, Princess Kaguya. Like just there's so many of those that I love. And then
what is your favorite Ghibli film, Jet? You've watched them, right? Yeah, like Jet is not a movie guy.
I'm not a movie guy, so I've seen surprisingly few Ghibli as well.
Oh, really? Ghibli.
Tree Howl?
My shit is Princess Mononoke. Her name is Sri, and she rides a fucking giant wolf, bro. She's hard as fuck. I almost did I tried to campaign to name Canon San 3, but then it would have been San, and that's not really that dope. But I thought 3 was a hard name. I was thinking going American style, just call her 3. And then my wife didn't like that. She didn't like Friday. She didn't like Bazooka. She didn't like any of that. So now my daughter's name is Cannon, which I feel good about because
that's dope.
But yeah.
Another anime movie, which is really one of my favorite movies of all time, was Paprika. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's like phenomenal. Inception took a lot of their shit, basically, like clearly inspired by them a lot. But I thought that movie was incredible.
Have you guys seen Triplets of Babel? It's a French
I think
film. It's a French film with no dialogue. I saw it in a movie theater randomly when it came out. Triplets of Bavelle is wonderful. Yeah, you guys should watch that. Yeah,
I was
I'll put
watching
that.
this movie from I think it's from the 50s. It's like this Orson Welles movie. I can't remember what it's called now, but like there's this scene where this woman is there's like this Mexican gangsters there, and then this woman comes up to another woman and she's like, "Do you know what marijuana is?" And then she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Do you know what mainline into the vein is?" She's like, "Are you telling me they mainline in marijuana to the vein?" It's so dumb.
That's the only way that I'll rap. I need to mainline it straight to the dick vein. You know, straight to the dick vein. Wow, that's crazy. I don't know that film, but I support it wholeheartedly. I think I kind of know the answer. You've told me that you're a big fan of Steve Biko, but who are also some of your favorite like thinkers, philosophers,
I was a
philosophical
big
ideologies and stuff?
I was a big Cauldron guy for a while because I was like, I got really into the brain at a stage, mainly because I was like, yo, what's up with my brain, man? And then I started like reading a bunch of his books and then tapping into psychedelics alongside, like, while I was getting into him, just made it a lot more interesting. And then I got really into ideas of like the unconscious and this idea of this like infinite internal universe and like, yeah, like I was a big Cauldron fan. Anybody else? Well, obvious one is obviously Nelson Mandela. I feel like that's probably the guy I would always cite as my hero, which seems obvious, but I mean, people, you'd be surprised at how many people here these days try to call him a sellout, but I don't listen to that. So yeah, pretty much it.
All right, and I think I got my last question, unless Jet has any of them. What's your favorite food?
Uh, Probably my mother's lamb curry.
I don't be hip on lamb like that, man. I feel like it's harder to get lamb. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like some oxtails and some curry goat, but yeah, out here we don't have lamb curry like that, do we? Mutton?
I love lamb.
Like you can get it from like the weirdest.
Okay.
You go to the Chinese spots, you don't get that.
Okay. Yeah. Word
I mean,
life.
it's a bit more expensive here, but it is you can get it easily.
Word.
Like yeah.
Y'all got Starbucks out there?
We had one. I don't know if it still exists. Sometimes like American companies open here and then they like spend a year and then they're like, all right, this isn't working, and they leave. And then sometimes they expand and take over everywhere.
What about like your McDonald's? Do y'all got like specialty burgers out there that we don't have it like in America? Because in Japan we got specialty burgers. Y'all got like colored
like
burgers with different colored buns?
Yeah, I think it's like the smaller burgers and the like. We got the third world McDonald's where everything's slightly less cool than the other McDonald's.
Yeah. No shit. What about your Chinese food out there? Y'all got a lot of Chinese food?
Yeah, we do. Most of the time when I chat, it's like you get a lot of places that are kind of similar tasting and shit. But there are a few spots that people say, "Oh, they're really, really good." I've never been, but I do like to, just order some Chinese food from a local spot. Usually pretty cheap for pretty decent food. Nothing that's gonna blow your mind, but
Word. What last thing? I want to do one last thing before we get out of here. Take me through. You don't have to give me the details of your job or what exactly it is you do, but take me through like your regular Monday. What time do you wake up? How do you get to work? How long do you work? What do you eat? When do you come home? What's happening? Like, tell me about your regular Monday.
Well, it changes these days because sometimes I work from home now, and I'm kind of in charge of my own schedule. So I'm a content manager and an editor. So some days are less work than others and shit like that. So I'll usually try and wake up around 9 on a Monday, which is a nice time to wake up. Sometimes if I really don't care, I will just wake up at 10. But I mean, regardless of the time I wake up, then I got to start working, and then my day is usually like a lot of admin shit in the beginning, checking writers' work, checking if shit is there, asking people where their submissions are and stuff like that, and replying to clients. Then usually editing work from writers, which takes 2 to 3 hours, maybe, depending on how much I want to do that day. Sending work off to clients, but it's mostly literally just me in my room, either writing something, editing something, or talking to clients, or just stressing about shit because constantly shit goes wrong, apparently. But yeah, pretty simple Monday. And then once
What
work
about
is
your
done,
lunch? Like, where do you order out? Is there Uber Eats out there? Is like you
uh,
cook?
I'll usually make something, or because I moved back to my parents' place like end of last year. So now every now and then I get lucky and somebody else, my mother might just make me a lunch, maybe like
That's
once a week.
dopest. Yeah.
Yeah. And then but yeah, for the most part I'll just make myself something. I don't eat much like in the day. I don't really eat breakfast, and then I'll wait until like my body's like, yo man, you gotta eat. So that'll usually be like around 2 or 3, and then I'll eat something small. Then after work, I'll work out. After I work out, I'll probably have a beer, eat some supper, and then either work on music or just watch shit until my day ends. Simple life.
Simple life is good, fam. Yo, Rap Man Gavin, Gav. I be calling you Gavy. I be calling you Gav. Thank you
A
so
lot of
much
people
for
here call
rocking
me
with us today,
Gabby.
man. Thank you so much for rocking with us. We're
My
huge fans of
pleasure.
your work. I'm really excited to share this with the folks. Patreons are up on the screen right now, and thank you for being a patron to us too, Gav. Yo, Power. Yeah, this will be out sometime this week, and yeah, we'll keep it rocking then. Give us where we can find you on social media and stuff like that.
I am. What is my Twitter handle? I think it's GAAVIE. And then I'm on Instagram, Rapman Gavin, the Rapman Gavin on all platforms. Yeah, Rapman Gavin. There's nobody else named Rapman Gavin. Just Google it, you'll find me. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And thanks guys for having me. I'm super grateful. Your show is dope. What you're doing for the community is dope. Everybody sees it. Everybody loves it, and it's great to see it grow and the community growing and it like linking with the rap music podcast community and all everybody just kind of coming together, all in the name of dope music. It's just good to see.
Yeah, man, super dope. I know Quelle Chris's real name is Gavin, and so now
Yeah.
I'm thinking there should be a Rap Man Gavin and a Quelle Chris Man Gavin collab. Let's make it happen. Yeah, word
Yeah,
life.
make that happen, please.
I would
Begging
love to have
you.
that happen, man. He did just follow us on Instagram. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, tight. But yo, I'm gonna end the recording, and that usually means that it kicks all of us out of everything. And we'll link up again in the Discord. Peace to you,
Sure.
family.
Peace,
Thank you.
guys.
Farewell.
Appreciate you.
Farewell. Peace. Peace.
See you soon.